wow, another win. Like, I'm just winning. We got lots of good wins to talk about, and then we'll talk about the market. But Trump got another big win here. You know, we just found out that employees that he fired, they were employees that were on probation of some sort. He went through and fired them all, and immediately there was a lawsuit. And that one went all the way to the Supreme Court. It was actually a Clinton judge, interestingly enough, that looked over that lawsuit, and then it had to go up to the rank and file to the Supreme Court. And he got another win there. CNN just flabbergasted, having to talk about all the wins at the court level.
We start, though, with breaking news at the Supreme Court. It just handed President Trump another win, allowing his administration to fire hundreds of probationary federal workers. I want to get straight to Paula Reed, who was looking through the decision. Paula, what did they say?
So, Dana, this is a significant win for the administration. The fourth one that they have notched from the Supreme Court in just the past few days. Here, this decision is focused on thousands of fired probationary federal workers. Now, this decision will allow the government to keep those individuals off the payroll while the larger questions about these firings are litigated. Now, this was decided not on a constitutional issue or really on the merits. It was decided on something called standing, which is whether the individuals who brought this lawsuit had the right to do so. And here the court says that the 9 nonprofit organizations did not have standing in this case. So again, this is sort of a technical win, but it is still a win for the administration, though it's unclear how this will apply to all fired probationary workers, because a separate judge in Maryland earlier this month ordered a pause and a reinstatement of some employees that are not covered by this case. But I do want to say, Dana, the Justice Department, the Trump administration, they've been waiting for a while for good news from the courts after a string of lawsuits, and they have been getting a lot of good news from the high court over the past few days.
Okay, Paula, stand by, because I do want to come back to you in a short while about other topics the Supreme Court is.
So, you know, it must kill them. They're like, win. It's amazing how much they have challenged him, right, on everything. And I think that at the end of the day, what they're learning is, at least at the Supreme Court level, what the decision is that, yeah, you know, he has the powers bestowed onto him and he's using them. And so in this particular case, he wanted to trim some of the fat right out of the federal government. And by the way, nobody's talking about what Biden did. He did this. Barack Obama did this. Like, why is it all of a sudden an issue when Donald Trump does it? Not to mention, they didn't want Doge in there looking at anything. Remember that? Like, Doge wasn't even allowed, sort of as a consultant, as a government contractor, to come in and try and figure out where all the hefty things were that you needed to cut in the first place. Well, that got struck down too. I mean, these guys, they just can't figure it out. I mean, you had the federal grants, by the way, just yesterday afternoon, getting tossed as well. The Supreme Court allowing Donald Trump to say, okay, we have the ability to review all of these federal grants. So let's go through it, guys. I mean, you got the deportations, right? Those can go through. That can happen. You've got the firings that they wanted to enact. Those can happen. You've got the federal grants. Poor Letitia James is coming apart at the seams because they can take away the federal grants to states that are not complying with their federal rules. And then, yes, the answer is Doge can absolutely go in there and look at all this stuff. So guys, you know, I don't know what to tell you, kind of up a creek without a paddle here. Remember the federal grants, right? The president had signed a whole bunch of executive orders. This was one of them. He wanted to get rid of federal grants that were going to various things like diversity programs, DEI stuff, foreign aid programs that he did not feel were actually encompassing his ideals and his agenda. And so that went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and just yesterday afternoon, they decided, sure enough, you know what? He's the president of the United States. He has his agenda. He has the right to ask these states to provide some explanation. But yet they don't even want Elon in there to begin with. I mean, this is this Representative Goldman, who's basically a puppet for the Biden administration still. He's out there still today, literally today. Sorry, guys, you know, it's been done already. Like, Doge is in there and they're going to continue to be in there. And he's like, no, they don't have the right. They don't have the right. Hear him.
Some of the witnesses here today as well. But the problem I have with this hearing is this is an important argument, but it pales in comparison to what's going on right now with Americans' privacy, with Americans' national security. We're talking about whether there should be a warrant to search a certain amount of information lawfully collected from foreigners. It's not a broad set of information, and yet some, non-government employee, Elon Musk, is getting access to every single American's personal identification information. His employees, some of whom have already been found to have stolen information from one company to bring to another competitor.
Okay, they're freaking out. Gosh, he sounds a little like Letitia. I mean, he doesn't quite have the je ne sais quoi that this lady does.
No one elected Elon Musk and his minions, and no one has allowed him to have access to this information. This is a violation of the separation of powers. The United States Congress, the United States Senate, has the sole discretion in having the power of the purse, and not Elon Musk. We are here today to seek a preliminary injunction to stand up against those forces who believe that they can unilaterally have power and have control, all in the hands of the President of these United States.
Well, that didn't work out. So, Goldman's still fighting it there in Congress today. She's still sort of fighting it, although she's kind of in a depressive state because she just really, really lost 21 states and Washington, D.C., learning just yesterday afternoon that, in fact, the Supreme Court is saying, he can pause the federal funding. I mean, it's like one hit after another. What are these people going to do? By the way, how the heck does DOJ know where the blow is if they can't get in and look at the books? We've had all kinds of government contractors before, right? And some of them haven't gone so well for the government. Edward Snowden comes to mind, right? So this is commonplace. You bring in consulting agencies all the time to look at things, but just because it's Elon Musk, just because it's associated with Donald Trump, suddenly now we can't have anybody taking a look at anything? Give me a break. Give me a break. Letitia James, you lost, okay? And you're losing again and again and again and again. Here she is furious. Remember when Pam Bondi said, we're not giving you any money, and she just shut off the spigot? Now the Supreme Court says, yeah, Pam, you got the jurisdiction to do that. Well, Letitia doesn't think so.
Not only does this administration's new policy put people at risk, but it is plainly unconstitutional. The president does not get to decide which laws to enforce and for whom. When Congress dedicates funding for a program, the president cannot pull that funding on a whim. Later today, I am reading...
Well, he did. He did. And guess what? The court backed him. So Letitia, I know it's tough. I know she was flipping out the other day, with her big thing with Al Sharpton, where she started getting all revved up, and then she started misquoting scripture and Martin Luther King and this, that, and the other. Look, it's over, Letitia, okay? He has the right to do this. And I get it. People are going to be so upset.